Two sitting here with us. Paul Anka's here in the studio. Nice to have Paul here at
Thank
101.1.
you. Good to be back.
It is good to have you back at this radio station. He has a new album out celebrating 50 years in the biz. Boy, it just seems like it's just gone by like that, hasn't it?
Absolutely. I have no concept of where it went, and I'm glad.
Well, it's called Classic Songs My Way, and he's got some surprise singers on it as well. And you talked about Michael Bublé, one of your discoveries.
Yeah, Bublé's on there with You Are My Destiny,
Yep.
and then I have Bon Jovi singing My Way.
Right, exactly,
And
which is really neat.
Thank you. Yeah, he did a good job.
Yeah.
Both of them did, actually.
You also have some great musicians on this thing. I mean,
Well, that's the key to all of this. You know, you can try and reinvent a lot of these songs, but I've always believed in great arrangers, great musicians, good studio and engineers. You can't do it yourself.
exactly, and you've worked with a lot over the years. I mean, when you're writing a song, though, I mean, you think about all the tunes you've written, but where does some of that inspiration come from? You know, people like Lionel Richie always say, "Well, I'm in the shower, and I just something clicks." And do you just keep a pad handy? Do you? I mean, when you're doing that, where did it connect?
Well, all of that in the early years, Diane and all of that was just observation of teenage life. You know,
Right.
this girl I liked, and put your head on my shoulder from these hops, and then Annette Funicello, Puppy Love. But in later years, as I learned my craft, it was a lot of subliminal, a lot of observation in society. So you write, you know, My Way, et cetera, just by cueing into something that might be happening, something you read, a feeling that you get.
Now, like Lonely Boy, here's a song that really
Yeah.
clicked for you in the early days. At first, it wasn't too sure, and then, of course, the wonderful world of film brings us all out.
Yeah, well, what happened was I was, you know, running around doing a lot of these record hops for the DJs back then, and I'd go back to a hotel room all by myself, and I just wrote Lonely Boy. You know, you try and tap into the vein of what's going on in society, and a lot of guys were feeling the same way.
Was the music ever written first, and then you wrote the words to it, or did you always have the words first before the music?
You usually get your title, you know, you get your vibe going, and with me and most writers, we get the construction. It's equatable to a house. You get the melody down because the word has to fall on the note properly. So once you get your structure of your melody, then you kind of refine, and then the words come.
Perfect. You know, I'm thinking of all the songs you've written, and some of the greats too, like "She's a Lady" for Tom Jones. Was it written for an artist like Tom Jones, or was it something that you just, he just picked up on?
Well, I started writing for people as far back as Buddy Holly in the 50s, so I got into that kind of vibe of always writing for situations, Longest Day, Buddy, Connie Francis. And I went and did Tom's show in London, and he said, you know, I've never had a #1 record in America, blah, 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 blah. And I was flying home on TWA, and I wrote the idea down. She's a Lady, on like a menu napkin type thing. And I got home, and I started the infrastructure of it, and got a demo over to him, and he was the first.
Man, I mean, you got to be blessed to be talented like that, to sit there on an airplane, just write down something like that, and you make it a hit. Now, we're going to talk before about the Beatles,
Yeah.
and the fact that you got to meet him when you were over in Europe, but this is back in the earlier days, right?
Well, this was back in the real early 60s, and I knew them in Paris, where I was working at the Olympia Theater. Then I hung out with them in London, and we had drinks together, knew each other. And I came back home and told my agent, Norman Weiss, about them. Well, you know, back then it wasn't a media-driven society. We weren't up to date on what was happening around the world. And everybody said, what, Beatles and hair and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, long story short, they flew over, him and Sid Bernstein, and they brought him over here in '64. They were on the Sullivan Show.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Just amazing stuff. I mean...
It's in my new book, by the way. I'm writing a book for St. Martin's, and I'll have
a
it out
title?
by next September. It's not going to be my way.
Yeah, you also got to work with one of the greats, too, by the name of Buddy Holly.
Yeah.
What was Buddy like?
He was a real good guy.
Yeah.
You know, I was very friendly with Buddy, and I went through that whole transition from the Crickets to, when he was really broke and moved to New York, got married, and needed money. And he called me and my partner and said, can you create a tour? I've got to go out again. And we put that tour together, and we were already on tour, so it was like the sister tour. What a lot of people didn't know was that he was taking flying lessons. He really wanted to be a pilot,
Really?
and nobody knew. And I think he had quite a few months under his belt. He used to go over to New Jersey.
No kidding.
And, fly. And then I think he probably got this guy to take off when he shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Can't mess with weather.
Yeah. You know, you're going to be at Mohegan Sun this weekend.
That's right.
And you're being inducted, too, in Mohegan Sun's Walk of Fame. I was reading about that on your website. And that's kind of cool. Nice little honor. You got Hollywood Walk of Fame already,
yeah,
right?
Hollywood had the Canadian Walk of Fame.
Yeah.
You get to a certain age, they start giving you all this stuff, you know. I've got a lot of these medals and walks.
Yeah. What is your favorite moment? I mean, it's hard to nail down any in your career, but somebody that you really enjoyed working with in the past and just said, oh, whether it was Frank or whoever it was. I mean,
yeah, I think being around Sinatra was, because back then Darren and we wanted to be like those guys,
right.
So meeting him and hanging and working at the Sands and that whole ambiance when the boys ran it. I mean, to me that was the real kick in the face of, wow, my life has changed. And look at me now.
How did you meet up with Frank? How did that happen?
Well, I'd met him in the late 50s, and then all of a sudden I was the youngest to work Vegas in the late 50s. And, you had to work the Copa and Vegas to get into that niche.
Mm-hmm.
So I went out and started working at Sands Hotel, and I met him there because, when the guys ran all the clubs, I was introduced to him, and I was, scared to death, obviously, but I met him in Vegas.
What a guy. We've got Paul Anka here at CBS FM. Classic Songs My Way, a brand new album that's coming out real soon. We were just talking in the studio back in the early days how short songs were. The average length, 2.5 minutes, and you had to get it done in 2:32, and that was it. And I think of the songs today, the average length's 4.5 minutes, 5 minutes long. Nobody thinks anything.
And they told us that, don't make anything over 3 minutes, and you were very conscious of it when you were arranging it.
When you're writing a song like that, obviously you have sort of a plan. You have a title, like you said, that's got to fit to the flow of the music, and then you have to plug in this stuff. So it's almost like you've got to get to the intro and the hook and the end, and you've got to compress this thing. Have you ever had a time where you've got so many great lines and you say, I got to leave it out?
Oh, yeah, all the time. Back in the 50s and 60s, all the time.
Yeah.
You had to come under a certain number. Then it evolved into epics,
Right.
I think MacArthur's Park and all that started to change everything.
It did. American Pie changed all that. For a lot of disc jockeys that needed a break, too. That was this song, 8 minutes and 30-plus seconds. But did you ever use something from a song that you were going to use but it was too long and put it into some other tune? Did you ever recycle stuff? Anything in particular, or is that a top secret type thing?
I think a song called You and I, which I wrote maybe about 25 years ago, and then Dionne Warwick did a duet with me on that.
Oh, wow.
That comes to my head first.
Oh, kind of neat. Paul Anka with a few greatest hits. Man, I'll tell you, we could be here all day playing of all the songs you've either written or sung and had a hit song with. It's amazing. You mentioned, we were talking about, shows that have been taped today and how different things were when they were live. And, of course, we have a few shows like that, and you were on one of them, American Idol, a couple of times.
Yeah, I did that and just finished Canadian Idol up in Canada.
Okay.
And it's kind of different because I tell those kids, look, you're all winners. You got to really learn to fail in life to find out who and what you are. That's what happened to me. And what amazes me is the technology, how it drives everything and really masks what's real and what isn't. Because back when I started, you had to be good and everything was very natural in a studio. You were well rehearsed and you went in and you had to get it in that moment. So it's a different application today, and it's kind of interesting because I think, a lot of these young people that are successful, I don't know that they really want to work that hard to get it anymore.
Right.
That's why they're all getting in trouble.
Well, we get into that society of instantaneous with everything. You got to have instant results.
Right.
And
a disposable society.
Exactly. Paul Anka with us here at CBS FM. He's going to be at the North Fork Theater Friday, November 30th. He'll be up at Mohegan Sun. We'll get a chance for you to win some tickets to see him coming up here on CBS FM. But I just want to, we have a lot of listeners here on 101.1, and we have a lot of folks that are struggling musicians and songwriters, and as somebody who's a pro in the biz, do you have any advice for anybody that's starting up as a musician?
Well, it's tough today because the music business is changing drastically. This whole industry is changing. You just have to really have a passion and a hunger for it and make sure that you are good and get into an arena where somebody can help you that knows what to do with it.
Like a mentor.
A mentor, exactly. Like same with Bublé. I worked with him and he learned very well and he's doing very well. But you need to do that. So there are people out there that know talent and that have an ear and an eye for it, and that is necessary. That communication to make it happen.
I'm going to play a song from your new album and get you on your way here. I know you got things to do. You're busy, but so nice to have you here. I want to just ask you one other question. Tell us something about you that would surprise us. Put you on the spot here. Something, a hobby, an interest, passions?
Oh, wow. Let me see. Well, I don't have many major hobbies. I read a lot. I'm a health nut. I really take care of my body and what I eat and how I exist. I think it's a lifestyle, in that it allows me to keep doing what I'm doing. So I'm very conscious of that. But more importantly, I'm really happy that you guys are right back to what you did.
You're here. Absolutely.
I wanted to say that. I really missed it.
Yeah.
We've all missed it. And you guys are doing it, and everybody out there is happy that you're back again. And I've been sharing a lot of moments with you guys for many years.
Absolutely. You're a big part of this radio station, a big part of the fabric of it, and it's just an honor and pleasure to have Paul Anka here at CBS FM. And best of luck with the new album, Paul Anka Classic Songs My Way. He's going to be up at Mohegan Sun this weekend, and you've got him, of course, at the North Fork Theater coming up in November. We'll give you a chance to win those tickets coming up in just a few at CBS FM. Check out his website, too. Great pictures, great information. It's paulanka.com. Really easy to remember. And this great new album is coming out just recently, right? August 28th.
It's number one in Canada. We did 2 weeks of promotion, and it's starting to do well here. And then I go to Europe, and we start the promotion in October over there.
And just to hear John Bon Jovi sing My Way is pretty cool.
It
Track
really
13
is cool.
is what it is. But we're going to play one more here. Would you come back and visit us again,
Whenever
please?
you want. This is home for me.